So, you're an ambitious person. You have big dreams. You want to succeed and eventually live the life you've always imagined in your mind. But there's a problem. You're lazy, you know exactly what you need to do, but you don't do it. And that creates guilt. Because deep down, you know you're capable of so much more. That guilt stays with you day after day, week after week, month after month, until it slowly turns into acceptance. And then the new year arrives. With the same goals as last year. You start with motivation, excitement, and a little bit of delusion. But before you know it, procrastination sneaks back into your life. Like that relative who always shows up uninvited. And this ongoing procrastination becomes a daily cycle of doing nothing. Then one day you look at yourself and say, I guess I'm just a lazy person. But the real question is, how do we break this cycle? How do we get rid of procrastination for good? There are tons of videos online, but most of them only focus on the symptoms, like deleting social media or removing distractions. Sure, these things help in the short term, but they don't address the root cause. And the root cause can be summed up in one word: inertia. Newton's first law: objects at rest tend to stay at rest, and objects in motion tend to stay in motion. This applies to your work just as much as it applies to physics. Starting anything, no matter how small, requires an initial push, a burst of energy to overcome the state of rest. And that's where we get stuck. We make that initial push seem so big and so difficult in our minds that instead of doing the task, we run away from it and distract ourselves with easy dopamine activities. So to beat procrastination, we have to break the inertia. And there are two simple ways to do it. Lower the pressure, take the smallest step possible. The hardest part of any task is simply starting. So make the starting point as easy as possible. If you tell yourself, I have to sit down and finish a 5,000-word essay, the initial energy required is huge. But if you say, I'm just going to write 50 words, suddenly the task becomes light, simple, doable. No need for extreme discipline or superhuman willpower. The 2-minute rule: if you don't feel like doing something, tell yourself, I'll do it for just 2 minutes. Then, if you want, you can stop. If you don't feel like cleaning your room, set a 2-minute timer and start. The funny thing? Most of the time, you'll keep going after those 2 minutes. You'll write more than 50 words. You'll clean more than you planned. Why? Because objects in motion stay in motion. Once you start, you build momentum. And that momentum pushes you forward. At first, it feels like pushing a ball uphill. But once you pass that peak, everything becomes downhill and easier. That's why the initial push must be small and effortless. You can use these two methods in any area of your life. Going to the gym, working on your personal projects, studying, relationships, anything. As Martin Luther King Jr. once said, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step.